A Stanford University study found that over 80% of people hold self-limiting beliefs about their intelligence and worth. 8 out of 10. That explains why so many brilliant minds stay stuck in jobs they hate, unhappy relationships, or endless debt. Look at Mike Tyson. He had everything: talent, money, fame. But his belief system was self-sabotaging. He claimed he didn't feel worthy of success. The result? He squandered an unimaginable fortune, destroyed his career, and nearly destroyed his life because he wouldn't change his self-perception. Now, contrast that with Oprah Winfrey. She faced abuse, discrimination, and extreme poverty. But she refused to accept the belief system the world tried to impose on her. She was called incompetent, fired from a broadcasting job. She chose to believe in a bigger vision of herself, and she changed everything. It wasn't luck, it was a paradigm shift. So stop and ask yourself, what's the phrase you repeat most when things go wrong? Is it, "I'm a failure"? "Nothing ever works out for me"? If so, you found the chain that binds you. Want to break free? I have a challenge. For the next 21 days, every time that limiting thought pops up, stop and say it aloud without shame, even if it's in the bathroom. I am worthy, I can do this, I am capable. It will feel ridiculous, I know, but that discomfort is the sign that your belief system is being challenged. That's where the transformation lies. I did this for years. With each repetition, I felt the wall cracking. One day, it crumbled. And there, I found something nobody can give or take away. True confidence. Not the superficial kind, but the kind that lets you tackle big contracts, challenging audiences, bold decisions, because you know you deserve the best. So ask yourself, whose voice is telling you that you can't? Is it yours, a teacher who belittled you, a relative who always put you down? Identify that voice and then choose to silence it, because you are not what they said you were. You are what you decide to be from now on. Changing your confidence changes everything. The money that comes in, the doors that open, the people you attract, and it all begins within. Take that step today. You'll be amazed at who you become when you stop believing the old lie they told you about yourself. Repetition is the key, and almost nobody takes it seriously. I say without hesitation, everything that changed my life, everything that lifted me out of debt and put me in front of unimaginable opportunities, happened because I did one thing most people don't. I repeated until it became a part of me. Remember that book? Think and Grow Rich? I wasn't a reader. I lacked patience. But with each page, I forced myself to imagine those words were directed at me. I'd read a passage, not understand, reread, close my eyes, visualize it in my life, then reread again. It wasn't comfortable. I wanted to quit 1,000 times, but I didn't. Most people read a book once, close it and say, "Oh, I already know that." Lie. You only know it when it's in your blood, in your way of acting, of responding to life. I read that book for years, every day. Even now, worn and tattered, it sits on my desk because each reread reveals something new. Why does this work? Because our brains are lazy. They prefer to repeat what they already know, even if it keeps them poor or unhappy. A Duke University study revealed that about 40% of your daily actions are pure automatic repetition. You don't even think. If those habits are bad, congratulations, you'll repeat failure on autopilot. But if they're good, they become effortless steps upward. That's how it was for me. I repeated in my mind, I can do it. I am wealthy. I am healthy. It wasn't just a mantra. It was a way to train my subconscious to act accordingly. It was like teaching my body and mind to work together to prove it true. And before I knew it, I was signing checks larger than I ever dreamed possible. A young man once asked me, "How do I memorize everything you teach?" I said, "Don't memorize it, live it." And to live it, repeat it until it's no longer an effort. I did this by listening to Earl Nightingale recordings daily. There were days I'd get annoyed. I already know this part, but I kept listening. And each time I noticed a new idea, it was as if my mind became sharper, stronger. What does that create? Consistency. And consistency works wonders. Look at Michael Phelps. He trained for years, every day, even Christmas, while others rested. He didn't become the greatest swimmer through talent alone, but because he repeated the basics until they became part of every muscle. If he'd stopped training, he'd be another talented swimmer, but repetition made him unbeatable. Now think, what do you repeat daily? Complaining, saying, "I have no money," claiming, "It won't work out," that's repetition too. But negative repetition, and each negative repetition reinforces a bad habit. Want to change? Replace it with conscious, positive repetition, aligned with your desires. One transformative experience was using a goal card. I wrote my biggest desire on it, something so audacious I was ashamed to show anyone. I carried that paper in my pocket. In traffic, I'd pull it out and read it. Before bed, I read it. Upon waking, I read it again. It seemed crazy, but it kept me focused. And what you focus on expands. Maybe this all sounds too simple, but simple doesn't mean easy. Easy is repeating the old pattern. Hard is repeating the new until the old disappears. And guess what? That's where most people quit. They stop halfway. If you don't quit, you're already ahead. I want you to make a deal with me. Choose one idea, just one. Write it on a card, carry it in your pocket. Read it whenever you remember, every day without fail for 30 days. If nothing changes, I'll tell you to give up. But I know it will change, because this isn't luck, it's not magic, it's repetition. And repetition is the language your mind understands. So answer me, will you be another person who listens, understands, and goes back to living the same way? Or will you be one of the rare few who listen, understand, and repeat until there's no turning back? The choice is yours. It was that choice that lifted me from factory dust and placed me in a life I created myself, repeating until it was no longer a dream, but an unshakable reality. Simple actions, immense riches, but almost everyone overcomplicates it. I learned the hard way that wealth doesn't come from one grand act, but from small, correct actions every day, even without witnesses. In the beginning, I didn't have a fancy office, an expensive suit, or employees. I had a bucket, a mop, and a decision. I would do whatever it took to earn every penny that put food on the table. And guess what happened? While I scrubbed floors, I planned how to turn that into a company, how to hire more people, how to offer my services to larger buildings. My hands were dirty, but my mind was clean of excuses. Most people dream of winning the lottery, having a brilliant idea out of thin air, or inheriting a fortune. But ignore that. Wealth is built in silence, in the details, in the routine nobody appreciates. I started like this. One office for $15, then 2, then 20, until it became a business that earned me over $100,000 a year. And I hadn't even finished high school. Stop and look at your life. What small actions do you repeat daily that bring you closer to wealth? If the answer is none, you know why money always seems to slip through your fingers. For example, how many times a month do you sit down, even for 15 minutes, to analyze your spending? Almost nobody does. But those who do have control, and those with control, don't live in fear. I see this constantly. People want to double their income, but they don't treat $10 like $1 million. I treated every penny like $1 million. When I paid off a debt, I wrote it down. When I had extra, I reinvested it. The secret is there. Small decisions by big people. And small decisions by big people generate big results. Look at anyone you admire. Warren Buffett, for example. He didn't become a billionaire by betting everything on one risky investment. He became a billionaire because he started young, invested small amounts regularly, studied, repeated, adjusted, and never stopped. He's proof that wealth is a process, not a miracle, and if you still don't believe it, look at the opposite. Think about celebrities who made fortunes and lost everything. Why? Because they didn't know how to take care of the basics. Mike Tyson is a glaring example. He earned millions, but lost it all because he repeated habits of wastefulness, impulsivity, and lack of control. Result: bankruptcy. You need to understand this. If money isn't secure in your mind, it will never be secure in your pocket. If you don't know how to handle $100 today, you won't know how to handle $100,000. Is it hard to hear that? Yes, but it's the truth. Now do an exercise today. Grab a pen and paper and write down 3 small actions you can repeat daily to protect or increase your money. It could be writing down every expense, reading 10 pages of a finance book, saving $5 a day. Seems small. If you save $5 a day, at the end of a year, that's almost $2,000 you would have let slip away in small expenses. That, reinvested, becomes more money. That's a simple action, and that's how fortunes are built. If you doubt it, look at the phone in your hand. It wouldn't exist if someone hadn't taken an idea and worked on it daily, adjusting every button, every function, every detail. Nobody wakes up with a smartphone ready-made. It arises from the sum of thousands of micro-actions. So it is with your money, so it is with your confidence, so it is with your life. I want you to start thinking big by doing small, because those who do the small well are already ready for the big. Today, write, plan, save, study, invest, and tomorrow, do it again, and the day after too. One day, you'll look back and realize it was this collection of simple decisions that built the rich and free life you always wanted. Don't complicate it. Wealth isn't for those who know everything. It's for those who do the basics better than everyone else, for longer than everyone else. Life doesn't reward those who are lucky. It rewards those who are disciplined, and discipline is simply the courage to repeat small, effective actions, even without applause. So promise me this. Don't end this day without taking the first step. A small step, but one you'll repeat tomorrow and the day after and the day after that. That's how true wealth is built. And that's how you build a life nobody can take from you. Ever feel like you're one tiny, almost invisible thing away from a life that's overflowing with abundance and freedom? Sounds crazy, right? I get it. But that's precisely why you need to listen closely. You're shaping your reality, and you don't even know it. I know what it's like to wake up with that familiar lead weight in your chest, to check your wallet and find only lint, to avoid eye contact with that overdue bill. I lived like that for years, too afraid to admit it all stemmed from one single sneaky belief, my self-perception. I lacked faith in myself, in the world, in my right to prosperity. And if I broke free, so can you. Once, I talked to a guy who seemed to have cracked the code. While I was busy making excuses, he scribbled 3 letters, RSR, results, health, and wealth. He looked me square in the eye and asked, "Do you consider yourself the owner of any of those 3? I shrugged. He smiled. Remember, nobody's stopping you from having all 3, except yourself. That stung. How could I be the problem? Life was unfair, bosses were stingy, expenses were relentless. But his words echoed. That's when I saw the pattern. I was reinforcing my own poverty, my fear, my shame. You do it too, don't you? How many times have you told yourself you're too old, unqualified, or just plain unlucky to improve your financial situation? I did it for decades, and the cruelest part, it's a lie. A complete and utter lie. Science backs this up. Over 95% of your daily actions are habits, and habits aren't destiny, they're training. You've been conditioned to think small, to settle, to doubt yourself. But just as you were trained for that, you can be retrained for the opposite. That's exactly what I did. It started with a crumpled piece of paper in my pocket. I wrote down my goal, $25,000. How much was I making then? Peanuts. But I read that paper every day. Before bed, upon waking, during lunch breaks, I repeated to myself, I can do this, I deserve this, I will achieve this. At first, I laughed at myself, but the fear of staying broke, of owing money to the milkman, outweighed my embarrassment. That's when something incredible happened. When you tell your mind you can do something, it starts showing you hidden pathways. You begin to overhear different conversations, to see opportunities where you once only saw debt. It's like switching the lenses on your life. I remember cleaning offices at dawn. As I pushed that bucket of dirty water, I repeated my goal. I wasn't scrubbing floors. I was building my empire. Sounds crazy? Maybe. But that's how my first business was born. From a mop, a bucket, and a mind that decided to reprogram itself. So I ask you, how often do you tell yourself you're capable? Or do you spend more time telling yourself you're unlucky, that everything's too hard, that you weren't born for this? Every thought is a brick in the house you'll live in tomorrow. Ask yourself, what kind of home do you want to build? Maybe this all still sounds far-fetched. Try this. Write down one goal. Something you believe is impossible, but secretly crave. Maybe it's saving a certain amount, paying off debt, or tripling your income. Write it clearly, including a deadline. Fold it, put it in your wallet, and read it daily before you leave the house. Just that. Do it for 7 days straight. I was imprisoned by a belief system that whispered day and night that I was inadequate, that I wasn't smart enough, educated enough, or destined for anything more. And I believed it for so long, I didn't even realize I was reinforcing my own invisible cage. Have you ever said, I'm not good enough for that? It's no use trying, I'm not like those successful people? I have, and I know that kind of thinking feels true, painfully so. But here's the secret. It's not true. See what starts happening around you, and especially within you. Once that becomes a habit, I promise, you'll never see the world the same way. The first step isn't making money. It's allowing yourself to believe you deserve it. Because you do. And if I, with no formal education, no fancy degrees, no connections, could do it, what's stopping you? Your belief system controls your confidence and your limitations. It might seem complicated, but it's simpler than you think. It's just a belief system, mental programming, a pattern, and patterns can be reprogrammed. Once in Toronto, early in my journey, scraping by as a janitor, I saw an ad for a major cleaning company. I thought, I'll never get a contract with them. It's just me. Nobody takes me seriously. I almost tossed the ad, but something inside insisted, what if I try? What if I'm wrong about myself? I called them, voice trembling, hands sweating. I scheduled a meeting. In the lobby, I felt so small, I almost ran. But I didn't. Walking into that office, without a fancy suit, a degree, or a pedigree, I said something that changed everything. I assure you, I can take care of your building better than anyone else. I walked out with my first major contract. Why? Because for a moment I broke through my belief system's barrier. I acted beyond my old self-image. And that's the big secret. Confidence isn't a gift. It's a decision to act as if it's already possible, even when your mind screams otherwise. People's main objection isn't fear of failure, it's fear of inadequacy. I see it every day. Hard-working, talented people sabotaging themselves because they carry that inner voice. You don't deserve more than this. And when life offers something better, they refuse it, often without realizing it. Think this is just motivational fluff?